power. Today we are going to talk about power and politics. Now here in this session we will be seeing what is the definition of power, what are different sources of power, what are different power centers, and we will talk about the power and politics. We will also talk about factors influencing the political behavior and employees' response to politics. So first of all, let us understand power. Now power has been an important aspect of human civilization since many years, or we can say since time immemorial. Power might be physical, political or social. Now in the context of business as well, power dynamics tend to influence decisions and people transactions heavily. Though power cannot be clearly defined, but we can say that it is what results from position or authority, which can influence people, both positively or negatively. It is very clear that power is equivalent to influence. Now, sometimes power can also be held by a person who is not at a designated position. But in organizations, all designated positions do have powers. So to understand it better, let us consider different sources of power. The first source of power is a coercive power. Now the coercive power is based on fear. It uses threat to make people do what one desires them to do. So one may use some kind of or certain things if the person doesn't do which is desirable. Like you can transfer an employee to an unpleasant location, to a very far and rural place, or you can give a very unpleasant job profile, or maybe demoting the person or reducing the salary. Many different threats are there, and because of these threats, coercive power exists. The second power is the reward power. Now this is exactly the opposite of the coercive power. People comply with the wishes of the leader or the others because if they do so, then they will earn certain rewards in terms of salary raises or giving some good profile or a promotion or some interesting work assignments, or maybe giving some preferred timings that a person needs. So by giving something which is desirable by the employee as a reward helps leader to get work out of them, and that is why reward can be used as a power over people, or reward can be used to influence people to work hard. The third source of power is the legitimate power. Now the legitimate power comes from one's formal position in the organization. The subordinates usually comply to people in the formally position even if they don't want to. So this power comes with the position and may go with the position. Hence we can say legitimate power is temporary. The fourth is the expert power. Now this is a personal power which comes from the unique skills, knowledge or expertise that a person has. Now this skill may be rare or easily not available, and hence it becomes a power. In such a situation, the person can exercise the power of knowledge to influence the people around him or her. Since it is very person specific and skills can be enhanced with time, it has more credibility and respect. So the expert power is a permanent power. Then the fifth source of power is the referent power. Now referent power means that if an employee knows someone who is highly regarded by many, then that is called a referent power. For example, if you know someone who is famous and popular like film stars or sports people or politicians, then you have that referent power. Or in the organization, if you are a relative of the owner of the organization, or in some way you know the people of higher management, then it is called a referent power. Thus, power has many sources and it is of many kinds. But how to use them is very important. Within the organization, the power dynamics must be managed carefully as it has a huge impact on the motivation and engagement at all levels. A very power-driven organization is resistant to innovative ideas as there are ego clashes, thus delaying the growth of the organization. On the other hand, the flat organizations welcome new ideas and makes the progress of the organization faster. So this is how, if power is used wisely, then the organization can grow. Now what are different power centers? Now the most important aspect of power is that of the function of dependency. When you possess something that others require, but that only you can control, then others are completely dependent on you. And therefore, you have more power over them. So dependency is inversely proportional to power. The more a person is dependent on someone, the less power that person has. And they accept the power of the others on whom they are dependent. So what are the different power centers? So first of all, it is importance. If nobody wants what you have, it's not going to create dependency. To create dependency, the thing you control must be perceived as very important for everyone. For instance, organizations seek to avoid uncertainty. Hence, the individuals who can absorb the uncertainty of the organizations will be perceived as important. For example, in an FMCG company, the marketing people are controlling, while in the mobile phone manufacturing company, the engineers are more important because they have a hold and control over the uncertainty of the market. So here, based on the uncertainty, the dependency is created. So this is based on the importance of what you are doing, the task that you are doing. The second power center is the scarcity. The more scarce something is, the more powerful it is. And its importance also has to be there. So sometimes even officials who are low ranking can have power over those who are high ranking just because they have certain skills which are scarce. So the scarcity dependency relationship can also be seen in the job market. The more scarce skills you have, you are more employable. So scarcity also creates power. The third power center is non-substitutability. If you have something which is unique and you cannot be substituted, then you have power in the organization. So the fewer substitutes or options, the more dependency is there, and hence it creates a lot of power. So these three things, that is importance, scarcity and non-substitutability, are the power centers from where power arises. Now let us understand power and politics. When people work together, there will be use of power to get things done. When employees in organizations convert their power into action, we describe them as being engaged in politics. Those who have good political skills have the ability to use their basis of power effectively. Young people joining the organizations must be prepared in terms of dealing with the organizational politics. They may have the knowledge, skill and ability, but it will be hard for them if they lack political skills. Now what is organizational politics? Organizational politics refers to the intentional behavior often used to enhance or protect a person's self-interest, like getting promotions, gaining recognition, selling ideas for important decision making, etc. A political behavior is outside one's job requirement and it requires one to use the power. Power held by individuals is only a potential which can be used, but once the power is put into action, then that turns into a political behavior. So the political behavior includes actions like withholding key information from decision makers, joining a coalition, or sometimes even whistleblowing. Whistleblowing means to make others know about the mistakes that people around are doing. Sometimes even spreading rumors is political, and exchanging favors with each other, that is also political. But in this way, the political behavior can thus be legitimate and illegitimate. Legitimate political behavior refers to normal everyday politics, like complaining to your superior, bypassing the chain of command, forming coalitions within the organization, obstructing the organizational policies or decision making through inaction or excessive adherence to rules, and developing contracts outside the organization through one's professional activity. Now let us see what are the factors that influences the political behavior. Now different organizations have different environments, and a few organizations may be free from politics, but many have the political environment, and there may be organizations where politicking is overt and rampant. It is too much. There are two main factors that encourage political behavior. The first is the individual factor and the second is the organizational factor. Now, as far as individual factors are concerned, then if people are high self-monitors, then they will engage themselves into politics because they want to show their skills, they want to show their capabilities. People having internal locus of control, their strong attachment with their identity that makes them political. Also, when people highly want to match personality or want to match personality with important people in the organization, they will use politics. Sometimes some perceived job alternatives, like if some person has some opportunity outside the organization, then it can also be used as politics. And lastly, if the politics will help a person to fulfill certain expectations, or we can say if a success is expected out of certain political behavior, then the individual will go for it. The second factor is the organizational factors. Now, organizational factors like when resources are less in the organization, then political environment is built. Also, during promotional opportunities, there is a lot of politics. When there is low trust between the organizational management and the employees, then again political behaviors are increased. Again, when there is role ambiguity, when people don't know exactly what to do, then there is politics. Also, whenever there is democratic decision making, that is everyone has a freedom to suggest for decision making or they have their say in the decision making, and when there is high performance pressure, then also political behavior is there. And lastly, when the managers are self-serving, they only see their own advantage, then political behavior is there. Now, what is the employee's response to the organizational politics? So, we have seen that people engage into the political behavior for their self-interest. But for most people who have less political skills or who are unwilling to play politics, the outcomes are negative. People perceive political environment to be threatening. Most people feel a lot of anxiety and stress due to politics. Sometimes this leads to reduced performance, and when the person is no more able to handle the politics, she or he will leave the organization. Also, many people do not want to become the part of this game, and they know that people are playing politics, but they don't want to be the part of the game. They will have to lose against the others who are politicking, and that means losing a considerable amount of career growth. Moreover, many people feel immense pressure to be competing in such kind of environment. The reason that employees might feel threat in political environment is that they are not able to understand politics performance relationship. If the individual has a clear understanding of how and why some people become decision makers and how and why things happen the way they happen, then they will start seeing politics as opportunity rather than threat. When both politics and understanding are high, performance will increase. So this is how power and politics work in the organization, and sometimes it is important for the performance and growth of the organization. So I hope you have got a clear understanding about power and politics in the organization.